is why this charade? Why is this going on now? And one of the things that everything to do with Iranian nuclear weapons is the fact that it sucks all of the air out of every other important issue, in particular the Middle East peace initiatives. So you ask why this constant conflation, this constant focus, this constant hype, all of these, supposed documents being leaked. And one of the things it does do is it takes the focus off every real issue. So I think, you've got this incredibly weakened president now who couldn't even get a settlement freeze to relaunch the Middle East peace initiatives. And what this entire focus on Iranian nuclear weapons does is it is sucking the energy away from revitalizing trade, job creation, but most particular, anything having to do with the Israeli-Palestine issue, which is the key issue that everyone in the region continues to agree is job one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Pardon me for my overwhelmingly sunny disposition and rose-colored glasses on this, but it seems to me like we could have perfectly friendly relations with Iran, even short of resolving Palestine. It would be better resolved than not. I'm not saying that, but it seems like the entire, I guess I just have to agree with Dick Cheney from 1996 or whatever it was, 98, when he was over in Australia complaining, the worst treason, right, to go overseas somewhere and complain about your own government. And that's what he did, to complain about Bill Clinton and the sanctions against Iran, and said, look, I'm the head of an oil services company. I would like to do business with the Iranians. Why are you keeping me from doing business? We can do business with these people. They're fine. Let's work it out. The revolution was a long time ago. Our grudge was a long time ago. And so, if they were willing to offer us the grand bargain in 2003, how come we can't offer them one right now? And you know what I mean? It's like they don't want to resolve this. They just want a better excuse for war. Although then again, since I'm just going off here, let me try to end it with a question. Do you think there's a faction fight going on here? Because, of course, Admiral Mullen was saying there could be severe unintended consequences from any war with Iran.
No, I think absolutely the Pentagon's split about this. I don't think they've ever been, the smart people at the Pentagon have never been interested in any sort of confrontation. And again, the so-called grand bargain, the problem with it is it was shot down and diverted and subverted so quickly, turned against the Iranians for even proposing it as carefully as they did. So it really is, the whole Cheney thing is just a reiteration of wherever you stand really depends on where you sit. And if he had been sitting at an oil services company or a trading company for these past 10 years, of course he would still be saying the same thing, because basically the U.S. and Iran are extremely compatible economic partners. And a lot of the trouble that's being stirred up right now keeps the two natural trading partners from ever doing anything productive. We continue to create the conditions that actually help precipitate the Iranian resolution, the corruption, the illicit activities that caused the downfall of the Shah. We're behaving as badly in terms of the saber rattling right now, and there is absolutely no way there's going to be any sort of rapprochement as far as just looking at the relations between the two countries. But I agree that this market, Iran is a market that we don't have to fight with, that we can stand on the sidelines and let them figure out how they want to be governed, which is what should happen, as opposed to attempting to engineer a coup or follow Michael Ledeen into another set of high-profile but fatal, efforts with any sort of moderate elements in their military. I mean, all of those things have been tried. They've failed. If they're tried again, they'll fail again. I mean, I think we need to back off and begin opening as many relations as we possibly can with as many different segments of society as we possibly can. The other approaches have all been tried, and they've all failed.
Yeah. Well, George Bush and Dick Cheney apparently were perfectly happy to fight with other people's lives, of course, for years and years to install the Iranians guys in power in Iraq. Seems like if they're willing to swallow their pride and do that, what's the problem,
Well, the one thing that I think people don't give them any credit for, because it's so hard to give them any credit, after invading Iraq. But George Bush did not let the neoconservatives manipulate him into attacking Iran. And he did leave two members of one of the principal organizations, although there are many others, that were trying to maneuver that into place through what looks like espionage. He did leave them in court toward an impending trial date. So I think he quickly came to regret, and someday may even talk about it, I think he did come to regret the way he was manipulated into making the biggest possible blunder in the region that's ever been made by a U.S. president.
Yeah, which of course has its own irony packed in it too, because all he cares about is that on this show we always just blame Cheney, but out in the world he's the one whose name is mud throughout the rest of history. That most horrible person, people compare him even to Woodrow Wilson, among the worst presidents ever, one of the worst political leaders in the history of mankind, and he's the one who's going to get the rap. So that's all he cares about is his own personal problem. He still doesn't care about the million people who died in his stupid war.
Well, I hope someday he comes to care about that because, again, it's just, the utter failure of U.S. policy. That one of the reasons that we spend so much time, looking at the influence of AIPAC and other organizations is there seems to be now well-established infrastructure in this country that just will not let any sort of productive policy advance. And it's subverted trade, it's subverted rule of law in this country, it's creating a two-tier legal system. I mean, I know that you and Scott Horton were talking about the crazies out there, the billers, the people who believe in the Bill of Rights. But, I mean, there's so many examples now that we've uncovered through declassification of U.S. law just being roughshod by AIPAC and all of these organizations who push these stupidities. I mean, it really is a pity because in an age when people are really struggling economically, to see these organizations pushing such nonsense and such waste is just becoming quickly intolerable.
All right, everybody, that's Grant F. Smith from the Institute for Research, Middle Eastern Policy. The website is IRMEP.org, IRMEP.org, and you can find what he writes at original.antiwar.com/Smith-Grant. Thanks very much for your time on the show today.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Take care.